Nan Blaine Hilliard. I live here a lot of the time. I also sleep with weekends like this. But my home is actually in Winthrop Harbor. This event is co-sponsored by the Zion Area Chamber of Commerce, for which I am a board member. The Winthrop Harbor Chamber of Commerce that does not actually have board members, but has people who attend, and I do that. And the Zion-Benton Public Library. One of the library's major purposes is indeed to foster democratic dialogue, and that is one of the activities we are doing with candidate forums. So it's wonderful to be able to present this space for all of you to listen to the people who are have a civic commitment to the betterment of the city and township of Zion, which is what their ultimate motivation is, and I can tell you that without even having to listen to all of them, but they want to represent all of us and to help to make Zion the best city and township that it can possibly be. Our format, I'd like to give appreciation to our photographers. George Foster is in the back filming this. This will be available when the computer gets it all uploaded. His wife absolutely may not turn off the computer for the next 24 hours because film is uploading on zbguide.com. I hope you are all aware of zbguide.com. This is the place on the web to learn about community news, brought to us by our good friends at GoFlow. So zbguide.com, and you'll be able to see this film. Tell your friends and neighbors who were not able to be here this afternoon that that's where to hear it. And Gibby Buckholz is filming this to be the backup and the archivist for community events. So this is photography by Gibby. So we are fortunate to have two cinematographers. And who knows, we may be auditioning for something more. So we'll have to see how eloquently all our questions are asked and answered. Our format this afternoon. We're kind of going in order so that township candidates go first, and then the municipal trustee candidates, the city commission candidates will go. I have them seated in alphabetical order. This is not necessarily ballot order, because the ballot order is determined by when you get your petition in. And you can talk to anyone. I see our friend, the former township supervisor back there saying, yep, I know. And Jan as well. If you've never filed, Rich Walker knows this as well, there's this race, because by golly, if you are the second one, you're going to be the second one on the ballot. It's in the order in which candidates file their petitions. But I'm a librarian, so I do stuff in alphabetical order. So that's why they're in alphabetical order.
I know Dan.
Which alphabet are you using?
Yeah, which alphabet are you
Can I
using?
move?
Do you want to move them?
Well, yeah, you can move.
Musical chairs? Maybe you, huh?
Maybe somebody sees.
Do you want all of us in alphabetical?
No,
Okay.
two. And so Al and Sherry, you could switch. Did I move with the other two?
So actually, it would be Sherry, then.
I kind of like
that.
What if you guys like where you are,
We're good. What put musical chairs?
So, I mean, I have also had misfiled catalog cards in my database, so there we go. Okay, well, okay, moving right along.
You can blame that on delegating.
Okay. We will, so candidates, each candidate will have an opportunity for a 3-minute presentation. And after that, we will go to the questions on index cards. Carol Romanowski from the library staff and Bob Diggs-Russell from the library staff will be collecting cards. Carol and Bob wave so people can see who they are. Carol's on that side. So just pass your cards to the aisle and they will hand them up to me. When we come to the question session, the questions may be directed at all of you, or they may be directed specifically for township or specifically for city, and we'll differentiate on that. And you'll have 1 minute to respond to the questions. That is 1 minute each. So, and Lisa Jarrett, who is our chamber representative from Culver's, is our timer. And so please pay attention when she starts giving you a timeout. Please keep that in mind so we can keep things going. And then after the questions are ended, and a reminder is I may edit questions. Some people may have duplicative questions, so I'm going to be editing as I go. I am not going to intentionally cut anybody out. Everybody will have 2 minutes to give a closing statement. Got it, everybody? Okay, we will take it away. And you may pass the mic down and start with that slide. start your 3 minutes.
My name is Clyde McLemore. I'm a candidate for Zion Township Supervisor. I want to say good morning, good afternoon to everybody that came out. I am a resident of Zion, been here since year 2000. I am married and have 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl. 3 boys still at home, the girl is gone. My vision for Township Supervisor will be to enhance the quality of service for the Zion residents. I would like to ease the financial burdens of the residents by starting a tax rebate program. This program will focus on seniors and veterans. The reason why is that the state no longer has a circuit breaker program, which they had for the seniors, and there's money that can be given back to the taxpayers probably once a year. Last year we had a $314,000 rollover that could have went back to the residents. I will work with the IHE program to help residents with their lights, gas, and rent assistance. Recently the program has been discontinued and 2 workers in the office was laid off. I would make an effort to use all the resources to reinstate the programs and probably bring back the 2 workers. The drug and substance abuse program will be enhanced to not only include just teenagers, but adults with the economy where it is. Many adults' families are in need. I will put together a think tank of citizens with need and development for the teenagers of Zion to keep them off the street and get them back on the road of education and employment. I will work with the banks and government service to curb the amount of foreclosures in Zion, and I will be done by giving new homeowners who live in a home for 3 years a tax break. I ask you to vote for fairness and to vote for me, Clyde McLemore, as your Zion Township Supervisor.
You'll be happy to know I wrote it down so that I don't go over 3 minutes, okay? You have to get the evil eye from Lisa. My name's Sherry Neal, and I serve currently as the Township Supervisor. I believe I'm uniquely qualified for this position for many reasons. Not only because of my personal history, which allows me to empathize with those who are in crisis and need of assistance. Not only because of my education, a double Bachelor of Science degree in Psychology and Human Behavior and Society, earning my Master's in Management degree this coming May 11th, or being a certified life coach. And not because of the awards I've received over the years, including the Supervisor of the Year, the ZBTHS Local Hero Award, the YWCA Community Leadership Award, the Lake County Enrique Camarino One Person Can Make a Difference Award, the Lake County Most Influential African American Freedom Award, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community Pillar of the Community Award, or the Catholic Charities Monsignor Holbrook Award, among others. I believe I am uniquely qualified for this position because I live it every day. To me, the role of Township Supervisor is more than administering programs. The supervisor position was created so that residents could choose one person that they trust with a pooled fund of money that would be there when someone needed help, that would not judge, but listen and help resolve issues. My christening came shortly after being elected when we got a phone call complaining that a mentally disabled woman had been evicted from her home. I went to the house and the woman was sitting under a tree smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer. I was glad to be wearing jeans that day and happened to have a cigar in my glove box. I asked the woman for a light and sat with her to better understand the situation. A man came up and yelled at me, asking what I thought I was doing. I approached him and told him who I was. He teared up and thanked me, explaining his situation. I returned to the office and pulled out the red book, the book of all the social service resources in our county. Every call I made, the program was either canceled or had a waiting list. I finally found her some help, with her agreeing to go undercover for me at a mental health clinic to report back to me how effective the program was. But all day long I kept thinking, if the person on the other end of the phone knew my heart, they'd help me find her help. That was why I started what is now called Respond. The people that answer the phone of 30 social service agencies get together every month for lunch to build relationships. What used to take 2 weeks, a tank of gas, and a bottle of migraine medicine now takes 20 minutes with one of my case managers at Zion Township. That's my greatest talent, working with people to affect change. My greatest concerns are taxes, poverty, and the silos that government, nonprofits, and the church community operate from, not realizing that by not working collaboratively, we're hurting ourselves and each other. I love serving as your township supervisor, and I'd be honored to continue in this role, but I'm not going to make you any promises I can't keep. What I do promise is that I'll continue to do all I can to make our community better. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, and thank you, Nan, for putting this on in the chambers. I appreciate that. Thank you all for coming out today. This is kind of a nice crowd. My name is Al Hill, and I'm going to give you a little background of where I've come from. Many of you know me, and you know what I've been doing the past 27 years, but I live at 2111 Edina Boulevard. I moved to Zion in 1976. I come from Gary, Indiana, Hammond, Indiana, the northeast part of the northwest Indiana, and I hope nobody holds it against me that Indiana beat Illinois yesterday in the Big Ten tournament. I have two daughters that were born and raised in Zion, and they're out on their own, and they're very successful right now. But my father came from Ireland when he was 9 years old, and he came over on a boat by himself as a 9-year-old kid. He had parents here, but he came by himself, and that's where I come from. He was kind of a tough guy. He went after problems, and he faced difficulties head on. My grandparents on my mother's side are also from Ireland, so happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone also. I have been director of the Zion Park District for 22 years. I'm now retired, and I have time to do this job. I can do it full time. I'm not doing anything else. I got my undergraduate degree in political science and criminal justice administration from Indiana University, and I received my master's degree from Indiana University in 1976 in public recreation and park administration. I was in the United States Army from 1970 until 1972. I was a military policeman, and I received an honorable discharge in 1972. People ask me, why am I running for office? Zion's been good to me. It's put a roof over my head, it educated my children, and my kids have been very happy here, and I want to give back to the community. I believe I've been fortunate, like I said, to have raised and educated two kids here, and they are very successful. I have always been dedicated to trying to find new ways of making people's lives in this community better. And that's one of the things I was very fortunate to be able to do that at the Park District every day. Zion has some problems, and I think like every community, some of the problems are because of our economy, some of them are self-inflicted. But I think that if everybody works together, and I make a promise to do that I will work with the people who are in our city government, with all the department heads, and we can solve these problems. None of them are unsolvable. I believe I am uniquely qualified for this position because of my experience at the Park District. I understand budgeting, I understand how to balance budget, I understand municipal financing, I understand bond issues, I understand personnel policies that are associated with governmental agencies, and it's the years that I spent at the Park District, and I learned a lot from Chuck Paxton and Rich Walker and Marilyn Krieger and all the people who work there. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Sherry Beal. First of all, I'm going to let you know I'm not a politician. I'm just a concerned citizen of Zion, nothing more and nothing less. My reasons for running for office are really simple. I believe I can help affect change, I want to help affect change, and I want to give back to my community. My family's resided in Zion for 5 generations, over 75 years has my family been in this town. We've seen it grow and prosper, we've seen the economic downtimes. I've raised my 2 sons here, they're now very successful. One's a lieutenant in the Navy, one is currently deployed for his 3rd tour of duty in Afghanistan as a sergeant. Having lived in Zion most of my life, I know that, that we have our troubles. The city has provided my family with the opportunity for growth, and I feel it is my responsibility to give back to the community and become part of the solution. I don't claim to have all the answers that our community requires, but I promise I will ask the difficult questions, re-examine prior decisions, and hopefully provide a strong leadership. There are going to be difficult decisions needed for the city in the near future, and we are going to need a strong leadership to make those decisions. We can no longer ignore the lack of government funding, higher property taxes, poor job growth, foreclosed or abandoned homes, and absentee property owners. We need to address each issue, and only then can we provide for the needs and safety of our residents. My platform is simple. It's back to the basics: accountability, balance, and communication. Accountability to each and every one of you here, as well as the rest of our residents, for our decisions and actions and in our mission to grow this community. Balance, as it relates to the budget and fiscal responsibility. As we receive less funding from our state and federal agencies, we have to identify ways, alternative solutions via grants and new business investments. We need to seek unique ways to balance our new business interest in our community. We need to have enhanced marketing. We need to be financially responsible to cooperate with potential investors. We need to research ways to partner with Great Lakes, the VA hospital, and the Cancer Hospital. The third tenet of my platform is that of communication. Communication must be open and multidirectional. The residents need to have access to government decisions, records, meetings, and easy access to a forum in which to voice their opinion. Open discussion between city council members and residents must happen. Communication is never dangerous, but the assumption it occurred is. Transparency is absolutely necessary to bring this community to the forefront again. The citizens need a city council who listens, communicates, takes action, protects, and plans for the future of its residents. I want to be part of that council and help you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Fisher, and I am a candidate for Commissioner in the City of Zion. I want to thank our hosts for having us here. This is very important work, and we appreciate their efforts. And I want to thank our fellow candidates for participating. I think it's a wonderful event. I am not a lifelong resident of Zion, so I feel an introduction is in order by way of a short biography. I was born 48 years ago in Kansas City, Missouri. My family moved to Indiana, where I went to high school and graduated in 1982 from Plainfield High. I then joined the Army, went to West Germany, and I met a specialist, Christy Thomas, who married me. And it turned out she was from Indianapolis. So it turned out that she went all the way to Germany to marry the boy next door. Next October, we're celebrating our 27th anniversary. We moved to the Chicago area and then eventually bought our house here in Zion 17 years ago. Professionally, after the Army, I spent over a decade in the security industry. This led to a position at the American Medical Association supervising their security staff. I was then recruited by the AMA to work in their Human Resources Division, where I have been for the last 13 years. And that brings us to the present and why I am running for office. Even small governments make big decisions. The people we elect to make those decisions should be good stewards of the public trust, always acting in a practical and fiscally responsible manner. It is that spirit of public service, tempered with objectivity and independence, that I hope to bring to the City Council if I am elected. I also hope to bring a fresh perspective, a vision for the future of the city, and a renewed energy in dealing with the many issues that we face. In my platform, I present proposals addressing those issues and for establishing a long-term strategy of growth and development for the city. The problems we face as a community can be resolved if we have a vision for the future and the will to carry it out. I stated at the outset that I am not a lifelong resident, but I have lived here longer than anywhere else in my life. Zion is my home, and I hope that you will give me the honor of serving as your commissioner. Thank you.
My name is Sean Souther. I live in 3506 Sarah Drive. It's in the Shepherd's Crossing Homeowners Association. It's behind the high school. I'm currently the president of the Homeowners Association. I've been that for 4 years, elected by the people there. We took over a mess and we are turning it around. One big, huge impact that we did is we had 17 vacant homes. We are now down to 7. So I do know the real estate business. I talk to banks on a daily basis, on top of my job. I work currently for Lionheart Engineering. I'm an electronics technician for that engineering firm. I fix electronics, UPSs, computers, stuff like that. So before that, I was in the military. I was in the military for 12 years of active duty in the Navy. I was an electronics technician for cogeneration plants, and I was an engineer. So my whole background is really hands-on. Before that, I'm from Idaho, the Northwest. Seattle is where I actually graduated high school. Went to college up there as well. And I joined the military shortly after that. So I'm a 12-year veteran, and I did 4 years in the reserves, so 16 years altogether. Lately, what really got me involved was really being the president of my homeowners association. They're newer homes, and I started going to city council meetings, and I was just really starting to get really kind of irked because nobody was listening. So I started going to the meetings and started just repeating, or actually asking questions, putting stuff in people's, making them accountable. And that's really what got me fired up. I think Zion is cut enough for tax purposes. I mean, the best part of Zion is the people who work for Zion and as well for the community. So one of the things that I really, really want to push is accountability. I have a vision. We need to bring more money in. I mean, everybody knows that. How you spend it, you spend it. But I'll tell you what, it comes down to who's on the council. We need 3 like minds. Because if you don't have that third vote, nothing gets done. I'm privy to a lot of information, but I'll tell you one thing I do believe in, a better Zion, and making Zion first. Thank you.
So this is my exercise.
I turned it off.
Yeah, thank you. My exercise for the day has been running this microphone up and down. So thank you to all the candidates for your statements. It's question time, so give you a minute or so to get your postcards, I'm thinking about saving the Postal Service here. Your index cards and questions. Carol and Bob have pens and index cards if you didn't get them. And so we'll give you a couple of minutes to get all that down and get them turned in. Question for all, and what I'll do is start with Clyde and we'll work our way down, and then we'll go back and forth so that the same person is not always the first and the same person is not always the last, but you're the closest for right now. So we'll start with that. What are you going to do to reduce taxes? Would you make it your top priority? The do was underlined.
Well, one of the things to do is that the township doesn't cut the taxes. The township does less spending of the tax money. But now, what's going on in the township is that a lot of our programs are leaving. And that's what they're proposing, that they take a lot of our programs away. Our money comes in the township from the levy. And that's not that's money that we get, but that's not money that we can stop the taxes, anything like that. We can promote to get more businesses here, so more taxes can be collected.
Actually, this is probably the biggest crisis question in our community. We're at a point where a lot of people's taxes are higher than their mortgages. And we can't bring in business because taxes are so high. The burden is falling on more people. The schools have to be able to educate the kids. It's just, we're in a serious, serious situation. And the only way that we're going to be able to do anything to change this is by getting every taxing body at the table, sitting down, recognizing this is what the pot is. This is how much we have. Now, how can we work together to lower that number? And then how do we bring forward with that? There's a lot of other issues that come along with that, addressing some of the housing issues so that we can get the housing better. Working with the Lake County Housing Authority, we have a new executive director for the Lake County Housing Authority. David Northern is no longer there. The We have 6 new case managers that are actually located in our community, so working collaboratively with them also to upgrade, to keep the housing upgraded and to work with people for accountability. So there's a lot of different things that need to happen, but we need to work together to do it.
I've got 3 things that I would suggest that we might be able to do to lower our taxes. The first is I think we need to stabilize the housing market. It's my understanding that there's a dilemma right now. There are so many foreclosed units that people want to come in, buy those units, and flip them over for rentals. And part of the problem is that we have a lot of rentals in town already, which then lowers the property values of the entire community. The second thing that I would do is look for alternative revenue sources. And I know this sounds kind of off the wall, but there are, and one of the things that I would do is try and propose legislation with Janet Osmond and our representatives in Springfield to tax those nuclear spent fuel rods that are sitting down on the lakefront. We received tax money when we had a nuclear power plant there. There are some good things about receiving that tax money, but there's some bad things about having a nuke plant down there. Now we get no benefit from having being a spent fuel rod storage facility, and I think we should go after that and see what we can come up with.
Wow. Can somebody tell me how to lower the taxes? Because mine are awful high. I'm just going to tell you. This is part of the reason I got involved with the city council and started attending the meetings 2 years ago. The state equalizer really affects us as our homes go down in value. We don't have the light business that we need in town. We don't have the retail shops that we would get taxes from. And until we start really building and marketing Zion and bringing those businesses into this town, we're kind of in a catch-22. You know, we've got FedEx, Trumpet Park out west here, and we really need to start building upon that and bringing those businesses in. Till we do that, we're just kind of here and trying to hold our own and keep the city running.
I think the general consensus is that long-term economic development and restoring the housing market are what's going to bring taxes down. In the short term, not much can be done. We're just going to have to face the reality. I think the introduction of light industry into Trumpet Park will bring in additional revenues. More niche businesses like the Big Chicago Brewery, that's a big benefit. Those things will bring in revenue, which will help stabilize our tax base. But until we get a lot of these houses back on the tax rolls, everybody's going to be carrying more of a burden. So in the short term, not much. In the long term, hopefully we'll be able to do more.
Taxes, our taxes are higher than Gurney. I talked to somebody last night, a real estate agent, and she said that it was harder to sell a house here in Zion than Gurney. So for the city, I think they've done everything they can do to control taxes. If we cut any more, we're gonna just get rid of services, more employees. We've got our own issues. Yeah, everything's based off assessments of each house. Yeah, we have New Zion, we have Old Zion. Just throw Lewis down the middle of Zion. We have older homes. Older homes require more money. When it comes to other taxing bodies, I think they could cut the Park District. I mean, their taxes have gone up 150% in the last 10 years. What do they do? So I'm just saying, get involved, get on these boards and start asking those questions and make cuts. That's how you do it. Zion's already has done that. So it has the Township.
Like a hot mic.
Yeah, it's like nobody wants it.
Especially when it's on. Okay. There's one question that was asked that actually I can answer, and that says, why are all the candidates for commissioner not here? All the candidates for commissioner were invited. Chantel Taylor and Lloyd Deteen both informed me that they were not able to attend today due to prior commitments, and that was the complete text of their messages. So that's why they're not here. So we had that one out of the way in 20 seconds, so that's pretty good. So, for the township candidates, and if you can do this in 1 minute, personal history prior to your current candidacy regarding education and community accomplishments.
Can you reread the question?
personal history, prior to your current candidacy regarding education and community accomplishments.
Again, I came to Zion in the year 2000. I came to Lake County in 1995. I part owner and became invested in homes out here called Oxford houses. And these are recovery homes for recovering addicts. We have an 89% success rate. Now we have over 60 houses in the state of Illinois. I became the state board coordinator, and from that I went on to become the World Council chair of the Oxford houses. I also just was nominated and won the 2012 Most Afro-American Community Award last year. My education, I completed 1 year of college in Alabama State College. And that's, the rest of it is, I'm a taxpayer.
I shared what my educational history is. Some of my community accomplishments that I'm the proudest of is, one is starting the Queen Bees of Zion Red Hat Society. That was a forced issue. I did not do it on purpose. I got talked into having coffee with a couple of women, and then they twisted my arm, and the park district didn't tell me no. So I don't take responsibility for that, but it's over 80 women that get together once a month, and they dress up, and they just have the most amazing giggle effect on the community. The Boys and Girls Club, I just got honored with the Founders Award, and that was because I was willing to call a meeting. We had a 16-year-old that was shot and killed breaking into a house. And so there was a meeting called, and I asked if that would be a solution, and the group said yes, and we moved forward with that, and that's now stable in our community. Our summer work program, we had 40, 14, and 15-year-olds that work. Now we have at least 80 every summer, and CREW, a substance abuse counseling program, and is now sustained and part of NACASA. So those are probably my favorite accomplishments of the ones we've had.
Okay, pass it here. City council candidates, what are your ideas on plans to address absentee landlords? Address absentee, I won't go into the pun effect of that.
Thank you.
I have to find my card here. I think that one of the things that we could do is, I would like to hold a summit that would include realtors, that it would include landlords, it would include city staff and finance people, and get everybody together and see what we can do to not only reduce the amount of rentals in the community, but to make landlords accountable for the property that they have. And I think that there are other communities are using things such as if a apartment or rental unit is receiving a lot of calls, the city's getting them for police and fire, then I think you can institute a program that if this happens very often, you start charging the landlords. And I think that you have to hold the landlords accountable. There's background checks that they can do, and I think if it's a problem property, I think we have to get tough with them. I don't. No, thank you.
Wow, that was a quick minute.
Well, when she does this.
I'm sorry.
There are a lot of rental units in Zion, and there's a lot in my neighborhood. And we have dealt with them through making phone calls to the police and asking for a little more, drive a squad through on occasion maybe, you know, and these type of things. I've talked to several of the landlords in our neighborhood. We've become kind of their watchdog. We let them know now when there are issues at the house. We call them. They're pretty receptive to a neighbor giving them an offering of a hand. As far as absentee landlords, we need some type of recourse for training and getting them to understand what the city expects from them when they do have property here. And we also need to establish some kind of cost basis for when the police are there every day, every week, beyond the normal, that they have to pay a certain percentage of that. That's taking away from the rest of the citizens if all our units are there.
I actually have this as a platform point, which would be a rental inspection and licensing program, which would hold the property owners accountable for their rental properties. Such program could be implemented. By law, it cannot be a fee-raising or a fundraising requirement, so it would be a very minimal cost for the landlord, but it would keep them accountable for their properties, especially when they are absentee landlords. There is currently some legislation proposed in the state Senate that would extend some very expansive powers to non-home rule communities in dealing with crime in rental properties. Whether it will pass, I don't know, but it's something that could be coming in the future.
Excuse me. I deal with this on a daily basis. I'm always making phone calls to the building department to help and assist with homes that are in my own community. But as the president, I've learned one thing. I proliferate the law. The law is the law. I hit them, I fine them, and I take them to court. And guess what? After that, they usually fall in line or they start cleaning up the properties. It's an expensive job. It's not easy, and it takes a very long time in court sometimes. But some of the laws that I follow are the same laws that are on the books that the city can do. If we have to change our ordinances and make them tighter, make our fines and fees higher, that's what you do. That's how you do it.
Okay, a question I think addressed to everyone. How would you plan to help low-income and middle-class residents own their own businesses and properties?
Oh, geez, give me the hard one. What are we gonna, we need to bring new businesses into our community. And I think the small business that we need downtown, we used to have Quaint downtown, we used to have Mr. Sam's, we used to have those. And how can we get them in here? We can offer as a community just to support them. We have our codes in our building, ordinances in place. We can't, if we're gonna have these small businesses here, we have to support them. I don't know what else to tell people at this point. We can't keep running to Gurney Mills. We can't keep running across the state line. We have to want to keep it local. I mean, I know personally, locally, my insurance is from a guy I can go see. I feel better about that. Some things you have to be that way about.
Chris, yeah.
Picking a random here. So.
Yeah, I guess. You next.
There are resources available. There is a great tool called National League of Cities, and they provide a lot of information. One of the things that they provide here is there's some national initiatives, the Home Affordable Refinance Program, Home Mortgage Modification Program. These things can help low-income buyers get into a mortgage. There's also block grants through the National Stabilization Program, the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. And there is the Hardest Hit Fund. 18 states in the District of Columbia were chosen for this program offered by the Department of the Treasury. Illinois qualifies as one of the states that can get these funds. So there are resources out there, and we should try to help people get them.
If elected as commissioner, I would be a seat on your township, correct, Cheryl?
I'm sorry?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there's she's the eyes and ears. You work through her. You got to make it easy for anybody that wants to do business here. We have to bring in a diverse business. We just do, because once you lose one, one has to step up to the plate and make up the difference. Big box companies, huge industries, whatever comes here, we want to be open for any business. So that's my answer there. Work with Sherry.
I believe the question was about how we would help people in poverty and low income with being businesses. And to me, the biggest responsibility is with education. You know, we can encourage, we can empower, and we can educate, but it's really important that we don't set people up for failure. There are programs out there, out at College Lake County. There's a small business administration that helps with small businesses. I met with Elroy Reed a couple weeks ago, who's doing a minority small business. But in the township office currently, we have a case manager that her sole position is to help people with workforce positions. And the original position was to help people with the program of general assistance that qualified for that position. And she has since expanded it to anybody that's looking for workforce. And I've got a couple of great stories to tell about small business, but I only have 20 seconds. So, but I think it's really important that we help people really determine what their gifts and talents are, help them to get educated so that when they do take off, they don't fail, because over 50% of businesses fail in the first 3 years, and it's such a shame when that happens. That doesn't help our community when we open a storefront and then we close. So.
In 2008, $10,000 was set aside to put Zion back to work. The money has not even been touched. Now they're going to take the money and put it somewhere else. That money could have been used for training and getting jobs back. We could have used the space over at where the crew building is and have someone over there to train people. Go right up there to Salem Foods, pick them guys up, tell them, I give you a minimum wage job to go to training. And once they go to training, they'll be able to have training for employment. And I'm willing to bet that that money could have been used very well here in Zion and getting Zion back to work. The mom and pop business is what needs to come back to Zion. And I was just reading this morning that there has been a law the House that, well, it didn't law, it's not a law, it's been passed on the House floor, and that is that if everybody could spend 20, okay.
You didn't get to go. Now who wants to change seats?
I think what I would support wholeheartedly is the re-emphasis of economic development in the city. I think this is a real good question. I drove down Sheridan Road a couple days ago and I counted, I think there's 33 storefronts that are empty right now from what was the Kmart Plaza to the north side of town. I think that the city did a wonderful job for a lot of years on economic development, and I think when we got into the financial problems that has hit everybody, that I haven't seen as much activity lately. I would fully support getting back into that and getting somebody really working hard to do that. I would also try and work with Winthrop Harbor and Beach Park and Zion and get all of us working together, because what happens in one community affects the other. And if I'm not mistaken, there is some TIF money that is available again. There was money available in the past, and I think it kind of ran out for a little while now. It's my understanding there's some more money available, and I would encourage any low and moderate income business person to take advantage of that if they fit the criteria.
Okay, to all candidates, what are your backgrounds as related to cultural diversity? Please give examples of accomplishments past and present. Cultural diversity.
Cultural diversity. Strangely enough, I've been very culturally diverse. My wife is African American, so we are an interracial relationship, and so that has been an education for me, because I'm just a young guy from central Indiana who never considered anything like that before I met her, and so I've learned a lot over the past 27 years, and it's been worth it. It's been wonderful. So, plus I've traveled a lot, been to Germany, and I'm out of time.
Culture diversity. Well, every day, again, president of the HOA, I talk to Hispanic, people from Nigeria. It's actually pretty cool. When it comes to actual education, I just have what the Navy taught me. It doesn't matter. You put the boots on the same way, pants on the same way. But when it comes to respect of their culture, yes, that's top priority. When I went to one person's house from Nigeria, I had to take off my shoes. They politely asked me to do that, so I did. I do believe that diversity is great. Awesome. So.
Going back down?
Sure. Sherry.
It's a little difficult,
I was
isn't
about
it?
to say the S and the C differently than you could tell, but it's a...
As an experienced professional, 17 years working for a large company, I've had to work on a global basis with people from all cultures, and I've had to establish communication with them based on their cultures and understand what their guidelines are. Just because we're more relaxed in our culture doesn't always work that way when you go into business meetings. So we have to see people as one, truthfully, and respect them for everything they do.
I guess I would answer this by saying it's how I've lived my life. I was born and raised, I said before, in Gary, Hammond, Indiana, which is a very, very diverse community around the steel mills. And I graduated from IU and came here in '76, worked here for 5 years, and I went up to Stevens Point, Wisconsin for 5 years as a director of Parks and Recreation up there. And after before even 5 years, I came to the realization that I did not want to raise my kids up there. There was no cultural diversity. Everybody was white, everybody was middle class, and everybody was pretty much the same. And when I had the opportunity to move back to Zion in this diverse community, I did. And my kids, when they went away to college, they said, "Gee whiz, Dad, thanks a lot. That we're really happy we came from Zion," because they're meeting people from Schaumburg and a lot of places who weren't raised in this cultural diversity, and they said those kids didn't get it, and I was proud of that.
Like I said, I've been affiliated with the Oxford Houses for the last 17 years, and that's a lot of cultural diversity, because that's a lot of different races coming in to live in a house and try to get them to live as one as a family in that house. I've traveled around. I've been through West Africa. I've been to Mexico. I've learned different cultures as I travel in my travels with different religions. I never it was quite an experience. But like I said, most of my has been in the Oxford houses dealing with the different races, people that's coming inside and living in the house together as one. And that's can get a little difficult at times, but it does, but it happens. And we got an 89% success rate in the houses, and that's been studied by DePaul University.
I think this is what I love the most about our community. I was explaining it to a friend that if you take a steak and you just eat the steak, it's pretty good. But if you add all the different seasonings to it, it makes it amazing. And I think that's the blessing of this community, is that we have so many different cultures in one community, and we really haven't maximized it. My background, I'm a certified diversity circles instructor through the University of Wisconsin Parkside. I work on an amazing Latino task force where we bring people from each of the different taxing bodies together from the Latino community to see how we can overcome some of those barriers. I also received the most influential African American award for the Freedom Award a couple years back. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community honored me and continues to honor me. I love working with them. My staff is diverse. We have African American, Latino, and aside from cultural, we have disabled, but we have other issues in our community: diversity, seniors, disabilities, vets, and youth. And everybody has their own issues, and it's really important that we can sit in each one of their shoes and see what we can do to address each of those issues.
A question just for the city council candidates, and I think two. I think can combine two into one, and that is your understanding and training education of city government and public relations. What is your view of communicating with the voters? Sean, it's your turn.
Good question on that one. As a president, I guess, at my HOA, I'm a public figure. My house has been egged. My vehicles have been keyed, tires, but it didn't stop. It didn't make me afraid. I think it was just a learning lesson for me. How do you go about on public relations with the city? There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the city that you just don't hear about. And a lot of that's just bickering and fighting, really, between absentee landlords, hacking down deals, getting contracts correct, budget talks. But when it comes down to the public relations, I treat you how you treat me, but at the same time, I still work for the citizens of Zion.
I've had the unique experience and the good fortune to work for a nationally prominent organization at the American Medical Association. So I have seen how a big organization works and how it communicates with the public. So that's been an education for me. Some of the people I've worked with, they come from careers as diverse as former Air Force generals to White House staffers. So that's been an education for me. So I've gotten a real understanding of how things work when you're dealing with a big, prominent organization. Now that we're a small town, but things are still prominent and people pay attention. So it's important to have that communication, open communication, and better communication from the government with the citizens is what makes democracy work. And so we need to really step it up and put more information out for the public.
Communication, it's part of my platform. I believe in it. I believe in transparency. I believe if the citizens are given the information, we have a lot of educated citizens here that can help and give us good ideas and promote business in this town and market. We have residents that have friends and families outside of this community. Okay, we need to self-market ourselves to a certain extent. We need to utilize social media, Facebook, Twitter. Well, I've never Twittered, but I can try. Our agenda items should be viewable online. Our recent decisions should be out there. We can do a lot more to communicate with our own residents, and we're not utilizing the technology that's available. You know, it's necessary in this day and age. The more information you have, the better decisions and the better educated you are.
I too agree that it's important that the city officials communicate with everybody in the community. And I think the social media and the web pages and all those things are great, but I think the most important thing is to be available for people when they want to talk to you. I think, and I would hope that there could be a better means of communicating with the public at city council meetings rather than just being able to speak before the meeting. I think it's important that if somebody has an issue with something that's on the agenda, that they be given the opportunity to speak while the city council is discussing it, so they can give the input along with the discussion. And I also think that as an elected official in the city, and I would promise this, that it's easy to be an elected official and be out in the public when things are going good. But when things are going bad, you still have to stick your nose out there, and you have to listen to people, and you have to hear what they have to say, and you can't run and hide. You got to be out there, and I would promise you that if I were elected, that I would be available, good, bad, or indifferent.
You don't get to talk.
Another question for the city council candidates. Because of our city's growth, do you or would you agree to move to a more representative type of council? And I interpret that to mean an aldermanic structure.
I think it's Mike. That is a real interesting question. I find that the commission form of government, in my experience, is one of the stranger forms of government. And I'm assuming that if I were elected, I would be put in charge of something that I really don't know anything about. And I think the Park District is different than that. I think when I was up in Stevens Point, that was very different. It was an aldermanic form of government. I would support a different form of government other than the commission form. I don't think it's the most efficient. I just think you, as a public body, our job is to make policy and then hire the people who implement that policy, support them, and get out of their way. Don't be asking favors for this to happen with this building or that to happen with that building. Let the people who you hire and your professionals do their job.
Commissioners to me are department heads, and they need to stand strong. They need to know the workings of their departments. I feel strongly about that. I'm not so much into an aldermanic form of government, I'll be honest with that structure. I know it puts a person in each area, but I'm not real comfortable with that. I do agree with Al. Since we are department heads, we should be hiring people that can do the jobs, and we need to be there and back them and show the community that we're one, and that's one way to do it.
I think it would be something that would have to be very seriously considered, because when you get into an aldermanic form, you're talking about suddenly we're doing party primaries and we have districts represented by aldermen, and that creates more of a burden on the electoral side. So for a town of this size, if it was the will of the majority that we move to such a form of government, then I would consider supporting it.
I'll come out and say it, home rule does not work. Waukegan's home rule, I know somebody who owns a business there, their taxes went up 35% in 1 year. When you hire more people, you have to have more money, so it's gonna cost more. Guess who that goes to? Us, homeowners. So it just doesn't work. As for the commissioner style government, it is very efficient. A commissioner is not a department head, that's why you have a department head. You have to embrace who works for each department. That's where actually all the good ideas come from. They're the ones that are actually working for you. Now, if there's a problem, that's the commissioner's job and the department head to take care of those issues. But I can tell you one thing is the commissioner you vote for is gonna run that government or whatever, that area of the government. But home rule is more expensive overall.
Back down the chain. So,
Oh, it was all candidates? It said all candidates.
oh, no, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
it wasn't all
yeah.
candidates. I'm sorry, I'm on
I'd
my next
answer
question
it.
already. Okay, well then we won't do that. This one is for all candidates, okay? For all candidates, what can you do and how do you feel about school kids having to walk on the streets because the sidewalks have not been plowed? It is a public works question. Next person would be, who's next?
It's for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's for everybody.
Sure.
Okay, Clyde, we'll start with you.
I'll take it. Wow, somebody in here wrote that for me. I don't know if y'all was at the city council meeting. I was the one that spoke out about that, and I didn't write that question. Okay, that's a very dangerous situation, and I'm a committeeman, and I didn't include that in my induction. I'm a committeeman, been a committeeman for Zion since the year 2000, and I have a precinct, and my precinct, that day it snowed, we did not get a snow plow. I called the commissioner, and the commissioner told me that they didn't have enough money to clean it. So I went to the meeting, and the meeting turned around and said, well, we was out there 36 hours. I was really upset, and I stood up and fought for it. So it was a very dangerous situation with cars sliding and kids in the middle of the street. I was out there campaigning, so I saw it firsthand. As the township supervisor, there's nothing I could do but complain to the commissioners for the public safety shit.
Actually, I believe the question was the sidewalks specifically and not plowing the sidewalks so that the kids have a place to walk. And I was actually approached about that issue the other day, and I thought, and with the issue with the cutbacks and the streets having a hard time and the sidewalks, it seems like an incredible opportunity for the community to rally to support each other. Having neighborhoods where people know we need to make sure that our sidewalks are cleared so that our kids can get to school so that they can't do that. And I think we look to the government a lot to fix things for us when as neighborhoods and as a community, if we can work together to address some issues. And it can be a better community. So neighborhood watches and encouraging the neighborhood watches that would do so much for our community, even though it's a lot more work. I think it would be good in our community, and I appreciate the people in our community that do it already.
I guess I agree with Sherry. I think that it's up to the individual homeowner to clear your own sidewalk. I don't think that the city has the resources or the personnel to be plowing all the sidewalks throughout the city. And I also understand that if the city would plow a sidewalk and after a snowstorm and somebody would slip and fall on that sidewalk, that the city is open for a suit. Whereas if it's the individual homeowner, the homeowner is the one that would be liable for that, and I just think it's up to the individual homeowner.
So are you telling us not to clean our sidewalks or carry more homeowners insurance? I truly agree with Sherry and Al here. It is up to each property owner or landlord, whether absentee or in town, to clean their own sidewalks. We need to realize that we can't expect our city government and our city employees to be at our beck and call. There are a lot of things that are more in more dire need than getting a sidewalk cleared when we all have shovels. Okay, so we can help do that.
I think we're working on a consensus here. I do shovel my sidewalk. I've been religious about shoveling my sidewalk since we moved here in '95.
So we'll walk to school on your block.
Yes, at least in front of my house. And fortunately, one of our neighbors, he got his snow blower out. He cleared the entire sidewalk from one end of the block to the other, which was great. My back appreciates that. So I think it really is the responsibility of the property owners. If we're talking about sidewalks on public property around the schools, then hopefully we can get the resources to take care of that when it is needed.
I wish we could do it. It's just, everybody here in Zion's working hard. I mean, really, you never know when it's gonna snow. When can you get to it? I'm kind of in a particular, this came up during one of our homeowners meetings, and it comes down to liability, a whole bunch of other stuff, and there's just some things that we've decided to do. So we put it in our budget, and next year and this year, I believe, we wanted to do what was targeted, meaning wherever there's a bus stop, that we're gonna try to do those sidewalks. As for the city, I can tell you right now, I would not pass an ordinance. I would not even support the idea of an ordinance to require anybody to have to do their sidewalks.
You do get insurance or something.
Another question for all of the candidates. Government finances, local government finances are very complex things. What is your background in the area of finance? And I think we could say your knowledge and expertise in municipal finance that would help you oversee a township or a city budget.
I do not have direct experience with municipal finances, but I'm a pretty quick study. Basically, just my background quickly. The job I do for human resources at the American Medical Association is in human resources information systems. I do lots of statistical analysis. I work with employee benefits for over 1,000 employees, and so I'm very handy with a spreadsheet. I've also been a quick study on a lot of things, and I have been studying about municipal budgets. So, you want to go this way or this way? Let's go this way.
I read contracts, I read budgets, I read footnotes. That's where you find out where the money's going, and you hold it accountable, and you ask the hard questions. It's pretty simple. You have a budget, you take in money, you put it out. If there's something fuzzy, people that work in the finance department, you put it on them. It's as simple as that. When it comes down to finances, I actually, I know it's not a big deal, but I do hold $75,000 to $125,000 a year of homeowners' money. I have to spend it, I have to budget it, and I have to make sure that we get our dollars worth. It's not fun, it's not easy, but I do it all.
I have no experience at the municipal level for budgets, but I do handle budgets where I work. I work for an IT department. I do see them at the level I work at. I am accountable for them to a certain degree. If that budget's going over, I better let that department know they're in trouble, no money next month. I budget at my house. I handle things for my children when they're traveling and out of the country due to their service they're doing, so I handle their budgets. I can read a line. If it's in the red, it's in the red, folks. We got to turn it around.
I've had extensive experience at the Zion Park District dealing with budgets and balancing budgets, municipal financing, bond ordinances, contracts, tax levies, EAVs, and all the things that go into figuring out exactly how much money you can expect to get each year. It was one of the other things that we did there. I think an important part of municipal financing is planning, and we ran a capital improvements budget, and that was for any purchases over $10,000, and you planned on them so that we didn't have to buy 5 new trucks in 1 year. You get 1 truck each year. If you had to have a major purchase, that was all set up in a 10-year program where you'd lay it out and then follow that.
I need to disagree with Mr. Sadler when he said that it's simple. There is absolutely nothing simple about government finances. It is the most complicated, convoluted, having to do your levy before you can do your budget. I mean, it's crazy. And when I got elected 12 years ago, my favorite saying is that God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. I was not qualified for the position, but I learned really quick. But a few years ago, the assistant township supervisor begged me to go back to school to get my master's in business because there is so much more to learn about it. And when I first got elected, we had a full-time and a half-time accountant at the office. We moved it down to having 1 full-time accountant. And it was in the last month and a half that I recognized that was even wasteful, and we outsourced that position, saving quite a bit of money. But it's also because you have to do a long-term strategic plan. As everybody's recognized, taxes are going down, so income's going down. So last year we had a $315,000 surplus. That number is going down extensively this year. Next year we'll be just below breaking even if we didn't take some changes. So it's really important to be willing to be educated in that area.
As far as municipal budget, I have really no experience, but I have a lot of experience in budgeting, running 4 or 5 households at one time on a monthly budget, making sure there's no overspending, all bills are paid on time, and as being a business owner myself, making sure that we is able to keep afloat and not stay out the red. So therefore, I understand and I agree with Sherry, and looking at the numbers, what I've seen, it's going to take a lot of, it's complex, it's not really easy because it's taking me a lot just to look at all these numbers and try to figure out what's being overspent and where it's being overspent.
It's 10 minutes to 3. I am going to use the chair's privilege and call a break so everybody can get up and stretch and get more water or go to the restroom or whatever. But we will reconvene at 3 o'clock, and I'm going to be back at the microphone. So by golly, if you want to hear more, be back here at 3. Thank you.